Imagine you spend an hour creating data inside a data container. You delete the container and all the data is gone. I was wondering, is there a way to prevent that? Today, we're going to learn about Docker volumes and how to let your data survive even when your container is deleted. So far in this Docker series, we've learned how images and containers work, how to run containers, and how to build our own Docker images. But there's an important problem we haven't talked about yet. Containers are designed to be disposable. That sounds great until your app needs to save something. What happens to your database, user files, notes? That's where Docker Volumes comes in. Let's imagine that we have a container running a simple notes application. Inside that container, our application creates a file containing all our notes. Everything works perfectly. But when we remove the container is gone and everything stored inside is gone too. This is one of the most important ideas to understand about Docker. Containers should be treated as replaceable. If your application needs important data to survive, you shouldn't rely on the container itself to store it. A Docker volume gives your container a separate place to store persistent data. Think of your container like a temporary workspace. You can create it, delete it, and replace it whenever you want. But the volume is like a storage locker next to that workspace. You can throw away the workspace and the storage locker stays. Then you can create a brand new container and connect it to the same volume. Your data is still there. That's the power of persistent storage. Let's create our first Docker volume. Open your terminal and run docker volume create notes data. We just created a document called notes data to see the volume Docker knows about. Run docker volume ls. You should see our new volume in the list, but right now it's not connected to anything. So let's actually use it. Let's create a container and attach our volume to it. We'll create a simple Python image for this example. Docker run /it name notes app v notes data Python. There's a lot happening in this command, so let's break it down. Docker run creates and starts our container. It lets us interact with the container through the terminal. Name notes app gives our container a name. And this bar, v notes data, connects our Docker volume called notes data to the data folder inside the container. Anything we save inside data will be stored in the volume. Now let's actually create some data. Inside the container, we can run echo. My Docker notes are saved. And then cat data notes.txt. There's our data. Now let's simulate the container disappearing. Exit the container and remove it. Docker rm notes/app. The container is gone, but remember, the volume isn't deleted. Let's create another container and connect it to the exact same volume. Docker run it name notes app 2 v notes data Python 3.12/slim. Now let's check our file again. cat data notes.txt. And there it is. The original container is gone. We created an entirely new container, but our data survived. That's exactly what persistent storage is designed to do. That's because the Docker container and the volume have different jobs. The container runs your application. The volume stores your persistent data. Volumes become especially useful when you're working with applications that need persistent data. For example, databases, user uploads, configuration files, or development environments, or something as simple as a notes application. If losing the data would be a problem, you should think about where that data is being stored. There's one thing you should remember. A volume isn't automatically a backup. If the data is important, you should still have a proper backup strategy. So let's recap. Containers are designed to be replaceable. Data stored only inside a container can disappear when that container is removed. Docker volumes give us persistent storage that can survive container removal, and we can reconnect to the same volume to a completely new container. That's how Docker lets you have both disposable applications and persistent data.